So good morning, everyone. Welcome to Be the Change. These calls are all about waking up and starting our day right, choosing how we want to feel moment to moment, and filling up and being surrounded by others who have strong mindset, who are showing up in the world, who are leaders in their fields, and who are so kindly donating their time and wisdom to be with us. Because would you agree that there's never been a better time for us in life, that the world needs our leadership, the world needs us to show up and be the change. And I'm so excited for today's guest speaker. She's one of my dearest friends on the planet. She has always been a mentor. She's always seen the very best in me, which is what I think true leadership is. And when I think of Be the Change, this woman lives this every day. She's not about talking about it, she's about doing. She is the ultimate doer at the highest level. So contribution is one of Loren's highest values, and she lives by that. She's always doing it, whether it's popping $20 cash in someone's bag just as a surprise. She's even, you know what, this sums up Loren to a T, and I hope you don't mind me just sharing these beautiful stories, Loren, because I think of you when I'm like, what would Loren do? And I know many of you on here do. She shared with me one day that it was very stressful. She was at a doctor's office. She was trying to find a really great obstetrician for her third child. And there was all kinds of things in the background, and she had some really, just mean-spirited, nasty, stressed out receptionists that were not being resourceful or very kind on this day. And instead of just getting totally annoyed and pissed off back at them and having a little bit of yell, she left, and then she thought, what's the right thing to do here? What's the thing that I don't want to do that I'm going to go and do? Maybe you can share the exact question that you kind of asked yourself. And she went back and she delivered flowers to them and said, you know what, it must be very stressful. You manage a lot, and I'm grateful. Have a great day. She does it to head office all the time. She does it everywhere. I'm gonna hand over to you any second, and you can tell us what kind of thinking that is, because you do this stuff in private all the time. She delivers gifts. She delivers notes. She delivers messages. It's just unbelievable. So we're going to delve into, where does that come from? Where does that mindset and this DMO come from of how she shows up? It's truly extraordinary. So through my, I don't know, how long have we known each other, Loren? 17, 18, 19 years?
Almost 18 years. 18 years.
From the minute that I saw her, look, I've got goosebumps. I was like, who is this woman? She shows up like a ray of joy, and she is there to serve people. She walks with people. She listens to people. She has that beautiful gift, like my husband. She just sees everyone. Everyone is valued. Everyone is important. Everyone matters. And it's a beautiful way to walk about in the world. So no wonder I love her as much as anyone that I've ever met in the world. And my friend, I'm not even sure what you're going to go on about today, but it's going to be amazing. And you look so pretty. She had her hair done just for our Be the Change call. So everyone tell her, how amazing does she look? She doesn't like compliments. So let's change that story for Loren. And if she's already made an impact to you, can we give Loren a gift today? And just let her know. Please let's flood her with some comments about what you love, admire, and respect, what you have noticed about Loren Lahav.
Oh, you are such a sweetheart. I hope I don't lose you. I don't know what's going on with my internet. But
Oh, hang on. I accidentally muted you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to, I love you so much. I wish I could just squeeze you through the phone, but, it's like, I think during times like this, you really realize who those people are that are in your lifeboat, based on the phone calls that you make right away. And I've been very, very, very cautious and of who are the people that I call. And I don't know, but you're always the first one that I really want to call, because I trust you. and trust is a big value for me. And I just want to thank you so much. And yes, I made my friend go, I said, oh my God, I can't show up in pigtails. So, so I said, please, can you come over and like fix my hair? And so
I like those pigtails.
like
And by the way, look at all these gorgeous chats that people are saying they remember you. And the first thing you said is, how can I serve you? Like, look at that.
Oh.
Yeah. Look at all of these.
You make me cry. Well, you can make me cry because I don't have any makeup on. I don't have any eyelashes on, so I'm all good.
You make everyone feel welcome and accepted and enough with your energy. It's such a gift. Talk about be the change, you know. So how do you do that? Who taught you that? How do you wake up like that every day? Do you condition that? You're the queen of questions. You know, we want to know how to be so awesome. Oh, I keep muting you accidentally because there's so many people coming on.
It's okay. I am muted myself. I'm just looking at these things make me cry. I learned from my parents when I was a little girl was the worst thing that you could be. I grew up as a little Jewish girl in the South. I don't know if anybody even understands what that really means, but there weren't many people that were little Jewish girls in the South. And my parents taught me from a very early age that the worst thing that you could be is be ignorant, meaning it is our responsibility to get to know and appreciate everything about people. So I went to a Catholic school and I would go to churches that were Baptist and holy, you know, I went to, anybody know who Billy Graham's is? I went to Billy Graham revivals and I learned to, not just learn to, I really appreciated understanding other people's way of living. And I think I just got so curious. I wanted to hear people's stories. I wanted to understand where they came from, what shaped them, you know, what all of these other things. And I could have taken a really like not so fun time and made myself a victim. I think I would say I could have really easily done that because when I grew up, I'll be 55 in a couple months. And when I grew up there were parts of my town that you couldn't go to, you know, literally. And as a little girl, not understanding, like, I don't understand what don't people, you know, love? Why? They obviously don't know who I am and what I'm about. So I think that compassion part of me, my parents, I volunteered. My parents made it was just part of what we did. I worked at the flea market with my mom when she was, you know, we were up at 5 a.m, packing boxes, unpacking boxes, meeting just everyday people that, you know, that buying a little cup that to you might not mean anything, but to somebody else, you know, meant the world to them. So I think that I would have to say my parents, you know, and I love watching you, Linda. I really do love watching you with your kids and what you're teaching them. That says a lot about who you are and a lot of our friends, you know, that are on the lines. But that's I think where I learned it, but I got addicted to it. Like I can't imagine not doing it, you know, and I can't believe you remember.
Is it me or is she frozen? Loren is frozen?
Yeah, she's frozen, doll.
Okay. Well, let's see if she comes back. I'll see.
It's really unstable, so we're gonna have to go in and out here. So hopefully,
okay.
Hopefully
everyone can mute themselves. That would be great. You stay unmuted, Loren. Everyone mute yourself. Thank you.
So I don't know what's going on with the internet. I think just a lot of people are on Zoom right now because it seems to be happening. But anyway, what I was saying was that I just got addicted to it. And like, so every day that I leave my house, I mean, it really is, you know, you talk, Linda, you're the master of it more than me, man. But it really is the power of questions. And every day I really wake up and it says, you know, what's something, who can I help? Who can I serve today? Just in anything, whether it be the lady, I want to go across the street just so I can go leave the lady at Coffee Bean a $2 tip today. Like, that's really like, I want to get out of the house just so I can go leave her a tip. not for, but I want to see her and I want, you know, but it's who can I help? Who can I serve? And then I have a big sign, like I said, that says, just do the right thing every doggone day of your life. And that has become, it gets me out of that space where I can kind of, I think we can all go there, but this time right now is very important. I just want everybody to know this. It's very interesting. I don't know if anybody's familiar with this, but in Kabbalah, Kabbalah talks about basically the bottom line principle is, you know, either you're adding light to the world or you're adding darkness to the world, bottom line. So every time you say something nice about somebody, you're adding light to the world. Every time you do a good deed, you're adding light to the world. It's kind of like you're, you know, filling your, you know, you have your kids fill their like cups about like doing good deeds. We should be doing that every day. So you're either adding light to the world or you're adding darkness to the world. And here's the beautiful thing. As hard as it is, I just want everybody to get this. There has to be darkness in order for us to be the light, you know? So it's kind of like, we always talk about this just overall. I mean, I really do believe this whole feeling of that we were born for these times because we're light. Like, I'm like sitting here, I'm like, freaking yeah, man. Now I can like, now maybe we can really wake people up, but really keep them awake. Because way too often, and it happens all the time, we know that it happened in Australia, we know it happened over here in the US with after 9/11 or after, God, you know, the horrible things that happened with the shooting here in Vegas. People wake up, but they fall back asleep, you know? And hopefully, you know, when you start to really in your identity that just go, this is just who I am, that it won't be like I'll wake up for the moment and fall back asleep. Does that make sense? So it's very important right now to understand that. And, you know, just, I wrote a couple notes here.
While you're writing that, can you know, some people may not have been around Tony or this language for a while. What does wake up mean? You know, like, I really like the metaphor of, you know, falling asleep at the wheel kind of thing.
Yeah,
We're on autopilot. What do you mean by like wake up people? Because I think people get a sense of that happening right now, that we have two choices. We can really crumble and disintegrate, or we can consolidate and rise. I feel people really feel that. So can you just maybe explore that a little more about, let's wake up people? Because you say, Linda, we got a lot of people to help. There's a lot of people. We can't stay and try and rescue people. There's a lot more people with two hands up.
Yeah. So the metaphor that, you know, what she's referring to there even is the story that I think is an important story to talk about was, you know, many years ago, I have a friend, her name's Louie Thaddy. I met her about 30 years ago, and she was in a plane crash. And there were 12 people that were on the plane, and there were people in the water that were drowning, and there were some people that were with their hands up. And I said, well, Louie, she goes, I could swim. She was one of the three that could swim. I said, then who did you help? And she goes, well, who do you think I helped? And I said, well, I hope that you would help those people with their hands up, right? And she said, you would have hoped so, but I went towards the drowning people. And when you help a drowning person, what happens? They pull you down with them. And what wake up really means is, and we have to love what is, right? As she always says, Byron Katie always says, you know, loving what is. What is there are some people that like to play the whole blame, shame game, right? When that happens, those are people that, you know, we always say that you know, the whole thing is you've got to participate in your own rescue, right? And what that means is it's time for us to wake up to what really matters most. What happens when you wake up? You tell me in the chat when you wake up. How do you know? Is it, so what is another great story? The guy who dies and goes to heaven, and he goes up to God and he goes, why didn't you save me? And God's like, what do you mean, why didn't I save you? He goes, the first time I sent a car to come get you. Then when the house started really getting underwater, then I sent a boat. Then, you know, and then you didn't jump in the boat. And then what happened was that, you know, then I sent a helicopter and you didn't get in the helicopter. And so now you died, right? So there's right? So it's like, what do you mean? God's like, what do you mean I didn't come save you? I was trying to tell you the things that you needed to do to wake up to what happens. It's like, we get in that frame too much of like, I'll do it when, right? I'll do it when, I'll start saving when I've gotten enough money. I'll start contributing and giving back when those things. Exactly. So it's all about we do our priorities. We do our values. That is what we do. So if you're looking for, like, for me, I mean, I'll just use an example of that and Linda, you can really relate to this because you went through this with us. I mean, both of us were in this at the same, when the recession happened in 2008, right? And both of Linda and I at the same time, we were like, oh my God, we did all the freaking right things. Like, we put the money down on the house, we paid this and that, and we both still had to, like, I had to short sell my house. They moved back. It's like, so, but for me, I'm like, I will never go through that again. Like, I said to myself, never. Like that, it became one of these like lines in the sand. I will never go through that kind of pain again. I'm going to be smart. I'm going to make sure that I have enough savings. I'm going to make sure, whatever it takes, I'll give up some of those things so that I am prepared, because winter is always going to come. The fact that the fact that we try to think to ourselves, oh, it's always going to be good, is ridiculous, right? Because any Jim Rohn, Tony, everybody talks about the seasons, about what happens during the seasons. And you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared. And that's our responsibility to teach our kids. I think, Linda, maybe I would have gotten you one, but the one gift I get my friends when they have kids is it's a little piggy bank, and it's divided into 4 different things. One is save, invest, donate, and spend. And literally, we all could use that piggy bank, I think, because we get, there's a great thing is like, don't lose your shirt. Don't get too confident in the good times, and don't like, pull back too much in that time. You have to be smart. And I think financially is a big thing for all of us. But that's what I mean about like waking up. So waking up, has somebody sent you the boat? Has somebody sent you the helicopter? And then you're like, and then you go, no, nobody's sent me. And now like, you're like, oh my gosh, now I'm drowning. Why am I not drowning? We have to make sure that we are more aware, because when we're more aware, we make better decisions. I mean, think about it. When you're more aware, if you go to the cupboard right now and you decide, and you were more aware, which would you pick? The kale chips or the Oreo cookies, right? You're hopefully, if you're more aware, you're going to pick the kale chips, right? Or fresh, piece of fresh fruit. When you're aware, you're going to drink water versus running across the street and getting a sweet tea, right? So more awareness. So always, when you're more aware, you make nicer comments about things. When you're more aware. So that's what I mean by waking up, is really manage. It's kind of integrating a little bit of everybody's teachings, if you were. When you're more aware, you'll do the Mel Robbins 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 versus reacting. I was super, can't even tell you how beyond proud I was of Asher yesterday. Asher had a girl in her life, a good friend of hers. And then one day, the girl was just a mean girl, turned into a mean girl. We've all seen it happen, right? And so Asher went to a different school this past year, and she goes, Mom, you won't believe what happened. I'm like, what happened? She goes, I got a message from this girl, and the girl apologized to her saying, you were such a good friend to me, blah, blah, blah. And I really took our friendship for granted, and whatever that it was. It was a beautiful, text message that this girl wrote her. And I said, did you write her back? And she said, you know what, Mom? I think I need a day just to think about what I'm going to say, which I thought was a beautiful thing, because lots of times we can go just react versus, and I'm sure she would have written something nice back, but I thought that it was a good time for her, which is exactly what winter is about. Reflection. You got to reflect. I think now is a super in time to reflect and think about what are the things, reflect who's important to me in my life, right? Who are the people that are really important to me in my life? What is it that I really love to do? What is it that, really makes my heart sing? Who do I really want to be in my life? what does really matter to me, right? I think it's a reflection. I would tell you right now, if there's one thing I would do when we get off this call, we need to go back and just put on your favorite music and just reflect about the things that matter to you. Then you get to kind of rediscover. It's like, okay, what, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do I really want to go do that? Or how much do I really want to go those things that really matter to me? And then guess what you get to do? And once again, this is winter, super important. Then you get to rediscover or reinvent, or you get this is an opportunity to just kind of like rip out the old. I'm like, I'm tired of that, right? Go through, clean out every drawer, reorganize every drawer, do all of those things that you want to do. But this is why this time has happened, for us to stop. We all say, I'll do it when, I'll take that, learn to do that, or I'll do it when I have time. There's right? There's no excuse now with regards to those things. So I hope that's a good start. You asked me another question, so I can.
Yeah, I love that. It's something I wish that I would do it all the time. I don't, but when I'm being aware of it, to not react is so important, because it's always our old wounded self. It's like our 5-year-old wounded self who is reacting, and it's defensive, and
Yep.
it's never really resourceful. And this is why some conflict can just go like this, because it's just defend. And one of the great questions that, I love asking people's favorite quality questions, especially coaches that are using them all day, every day. And I know that one of yours is, what else could this mean?
Yes. Yeah.
What else could this mean? What else am I not seeing? What could be going on in their life that I don't know about, that I'm not sure of? And it takes us out of judgment, and it gets us curious. And I'll never forget, first learning this concept, Tony gave an example that just got me in the heart. And this is the example that helps me get out of the anger response brain, was we never know what's going on in someone else's life. And there was the example, I think it's in his oldest book, Unlimited Power, where he's talking about these people on a train getting very irritated at this dad who's just letting his kids run wild and go all over the place. This woman is like, you need to control your kids. They're very disruptive and they're annoying everyone. And he was just still kind of there, looking despondent. And then he said, their mother just died. I'm trying to work out how makes me sad just saying it. I just caught that right there. I'm trying to work out how to share that with them when we get home.
Yeah. And that's where, I think I shared the story with you, but I'll share it with everybody as well. It's when Tony's book, Awaken the Giant Within came out. And there was the CEO of his company. His name was Alan Hahn. And Alan was just like this really nice man, but he wasn't like super active within the company. He would just go to his office, and people made judgments about him. I think that's the challenge, is people, like you said, like people made a judgment about this man and letting his kids run around. And I remember that was when they called everybody together, because I was actually working at the office at the time, because this was like in 1991 or 92. And they were handing out the books to everybody. And Alan came to the front of the room and he goes, I know you guys all think this and that. He goes, but the next time that you make a judgment about someone, he goes, I would encourage you to ask this question. And that question is, maybe there's something I don't know. Like you said, like about the wife, just dying. And it turned out his son had passed away and none of us knew that. And people are like, oh man, right? And so like, if you can just stop, we always say this, just take a deep breath for a second. And, just really think that thank you. I always say, stop, take a deep breath, and, think about, take a big deep breath and think about, just pause it, that you didn't react right away. And just think about, okay, what else could this mean? Maybe there's something I don't know. And I mean, we're human, right? Like we take things personally, like it's like,
Okay. She's frozen there for a little bit. Let me see if
Okay, so I'm back. I'm
Oh,
talking
yeah.
fast. I want to get there. We've made that I so freaking big, you know? Like we put like the straight line on top and this going on the bottom, and it's like so regimented. What about if we turn that I into like a little I? I learned this from my friend Scott Flansburgh, the human calculator, who I just brought on. And he goes, and what if that little line was just kind of like a little halo on top? You know, what if you just kind of allow spirit to start to move you through? And it's kind of like guidance might mean, ask for guidance right now. Guidance might be whatever your religious beliefs are. I personally believe in God. Is God, you, and I dance, right? So maybe if I just like made that I a little bit littler, say, okay, I need some divine intervention to come in to have a little halo to give me some light. It's very interesting. I will tell you this. It's very interesting that this is all this pandemic right now. And I just want to talk about it for 1 second spiritually. It's very interesting that it's happening right now with Passover next week and Easter coming up. You talk again about reflection and what these two two very important holidays probably in both religions represent are some of the holiest of the holidays, right? So if you think in Judaism, it was what? It was the Jews leaving Egypt and traveling in the desert for 40 years, right? Passover represents, going in and really reflecting again about the hard times. That the reason that there's matzah, just so I know, is they didn't have enough time for the bread to rise. So it was just this, flat bread like a cracker. Well, what bread represents, I hope this is okay to share, but I thought it's a kind of a cool thing. Bread, yeast represents, anybody know what it represents? The ego. It represents the ego. So ego is this growth, powerful, all about me, all about me. So it's very interesting that it's happening at Passover, which is all about like, holy sheesh, it's about sacrifice. It's about taming the ego. It's about, so that's it's about like reflecting. Look at Easter, right? What does Lent represent? Giving up, right? So like all of those things right now, it's actually very beautiful that this is happening if we can really take this to heart. That's why the other thing about, if anybody knows, so when you do in Judaism, where you do a Sabbath dinner, and they'll have the challah, which represents the, we talk about bread, but you always have salt beside it. And before you tap it, guess what the salt is to do? Same thing, to kind of tame down the ego, if you would. So I think for all of us right now, we've been in this place of like, winter's never going to come. It's always going to be great, and we don't realize the beautiful gift of winter. And it's a great time to, really look at, what your values, what really matters most, and then the other thing that I'd say is, we have to make sure that our personal identity isn't compromised just because of challenging times. I want you guys to hear that again. We have to be careful that our personal identity isn't compromised just because of challenging times. And so this is where you really get to go back and think about, how do I really want to be seen in the world? I want to be seen in this world, like she said, of contribution, whether I don't even know, like I didn't even know she knew those things, but I want someone to know that whether it's tough times or good times. Mark Victor Hansen, and Linda, you and I have had many chances to get to spend a lot of time with Mark Victor Hansen. And I don't know if you remember, but he said to us, I think you were there, and he said to us, he said, before you take a dime, the first thing you should do is tithe, is to give back. Can you imagine how amazing the world would be if that's what, and I know that like for me, I was like, okay, I heard him loud and clear. So now during these times, think about that. That once again is restriction. That's once again going, you know what? Maybe it's not all about me. That's the ego wants to just take it all, bring it all, do this and that. And you will see that you'll start to feel differently when you really start to do that. I don't care. I don't care. So that was a big lesson for me as well. So anyway.
I love that. We talked about this not long ago, restraint. You teach me a lot of the Kabbalah lessons, and I love them because I'm not as familiar with some of the metaphors and lessons in there. And restraint, I can see the need for restraint now everywhere. Right. And I'm a lot like you, like, let's make it bigger. Why not more? Let's go get it all. And kind of the world has been like that. We were watching this hilarious comedian on Netflix, and he was talking about America and like more Amazon Prime. What? I have to wait 24 hours? I want it in 1 hour, one little pen in a box to my door now, yesterday. He did this whole hilarious rant about it, of just the excess. And it's not just America, it's everywhere. America is amazing at showing this, and it is hilarious. Like, everyone go watch this because it's so funny. But this was obviously filmed a year ago, and it's a different season we're in. So it's very interesting right now to go, wow, he's kind of predicting that has to stop. Because that's the new expectation, is I want it delivered here now. Like, I don't even want to leave my desk, for God's sake. And so all of this is just being taken away right now, not by choice, and restraint. You and I were talking about something that more, that we're always expanding. We want more. I want more achieving. I want more things. I want more money. And we had that interesting conversation about restraint.
Yeah.
Can you maybe take us down that path, just based on?
It's funny. I've really been, I think that, I don't know about anybody else, but, there's so many, if we get back to just the fundamentals and the basics of like why we're really doing what we're doing in the first place. Like, why are we really doing what we're doing? I'd love to hear why you really are doing what you're doing. Like, we ordered this up, you guys. Like we said, we want more time with our families. Okay. We weren't specific enough. Maybe we weren't specific enough. It's just kind of like I said, when I moved to Vegas, I'm going to get myself in shape. And we took that, how to strip for your lover class. And I got myself in shape. I got myself in a round shape, where I said I wanted to move to Tuscany. And I found out that I was moving to Tuscany, but it was Tuscany, Las Vegas. But we have to really be very clear about what we're ordering up. So everybody's like, I need to have more faith. I need more time with my family. I mean, I don't know about you, but I love that it's like back to the basics. Like, what have you really like enjoyed? Like, I would say, I'm going to do that Friday night dinner every Friday night, Friday night. Guess when the first time I started doing it every Friday night, a month ago, when did all of this happen, right? Where there weren't so many options, right? It's like, 31 flavors? Now, God knows how many flavors that there are now. What about when it's just, chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry? We get more resourceful. And we talk about this all the time too, Linda, is, the person that's most resourceful always wins. Right? Always. And look at all the resources. Everybody says, I want to learn how to do this. I want to learn how to do that. Guess what? There's no excuse now. Like, if you don't walk out of this challenging time with a new skill, a new business, or a new growth in something, then there's something going on there. But restriction, let's go back to restriction. I just want to talk about that. I think you have to, there's something beautiful about restriction and concealment, if I would too. I want to add concealment in there. Any moms on the line? If there's any moms on the line and they tell you not to tell somebody that you're pregnant till you're like through that first trimester, right? Like they usually say, just wait for the first trimester. Lots of times we get so excited about things sometimes, and we go and like make these big, I'm going to go do this big deal, instead of like concealing or protecting. Sometimes like protecting that dream. I know I do it a lot. I'm like, I tell everybody about it, instead of like, maybe I'll just kind of fly under the radar a little bit, and then I'll kind of like come out of it. So there's something beautiful, and here's why. Because that agreement of concealment and protection is between you and you. and not between you and the rest of hey, I got to tell everybody about all these great grandioso things that I'm doing, right? So I've really been working. I used to do a great job at it before. I haven't in the past, 12 years, to be honest about it. But now I realize, like, you know what, I'm just going to make this commitment between me, myself, and God. And then I'll just kind of like fly out from under the radar and tell everybody about it. And what I have realized, like, I'm like, God, it's gotten me to ask better questions. Like, why am I really doing this? Like, before it was like, I'm doing it because everybody needs to know that I'm doing this and I'm working on this and I'm doing that. Now it's kind of like, I'm doing this because it really makes my heart sing. I'm doing this because this really lights me up, right? It's getting me to ask myself better questions and not any questions that, and it's really just between me and, me and my purpose, and God. So, anyway, that, and this, like, I love seeing all the things that people are posting, but I have not changed my routine. It's very, a schedule. I saw that I watched Scott's thing, Scott Harris one that you did on Be the Change, I was so happy because you want to know how to be successful in all areas of your life. That's what you do. You commit to the schedule, you commit whatever your morning ritual is for you. I mean, I wake up every day. I say, today's gonna be the best day of my life again. I have my 5-minute meeting with God. I look out over whether it's whatever's going on in the world. I look over the red rocks, and like, you got those beautiful places in the world, right? To look out and go, thank you, God, it's another beautiful day, right? And I do those rituals, not just because of a freaking pandemic. And then I go into like who I am. I don't just, and I do my I am statements. I do my non-negotiables. That is just, it's triggered, right? I have my 10 to 2 times when I work, when I hunker down. I have my time when I work out. Sometimes I'm not as good as I should be, but, unless my husband kicks my butt now, he's like, boy, you're going for 45 minutes, go, and so it makes me go do the walk, whatever that it is. But that's reflection time though, too. You got to realize that that's going to build so much momentum for you that it really does become part of your identity. I don't know.
Loren, do you think, here's my hallucination on this. When I wasn't doing it, it's because I didn't value myself enough to do it.
Absolutely.
I'm busy squirreling everywhere else to then I'll be enough. Then I'll be important. If I achieve all these other things out here. So scheduling to me was a part of self-worth.
Absolutely.
Rituals were part of self-worth, and yet they need each other. You can't build your self-worth without creating the ritual.
Absolutely.
Can you guide us through, what that, mine is, honestly, mine is, some days it's as little as 5 minutes and it's my shower. It's
absolutely
one song and it's at least 6 or 7 quality questions. That's the minimum some days. And I'm just going to be really real there.
And I love that too. I love too that, because I think that so many times, and I gotta say this too. I think that guys and girls are different about that, because like for me, like my husband, God bless him, he does his 5-mile run every single day, no matter what. I know that James is like that too. Like they're just like, and I know Scott and like those guys are really regimented, and Anthony, a lot of our friends that we know that are amazing about that. But for me, I was like, I call them my take 5s. Right. And when everybody started bitching about the cell phone, when cell phones and started coming out and people were like, oh my God, it's so distracting. I'm like, well, no, I'm going to set my take 5s on there. 5 minutes, 5 minutes for my spirit, 5 minutes for my friendship, 5 minutes for my finances, 5 minutes for my purpose, 5 minutes just, for whatever, like fun time. And guess what? I got 25 minutes that I've taken care of myself, right? Alarm goes off on my phone at 10 o'clock. It says, get down and do a minute of, do your squats, do your healthy Hazels. If you guys haven't listened to my podcast, I'd encourage you to listen to Hazel. She was just last week. Please listen to Hazel. She just turned 90 years old, and she was awesome. She was like badass last week. So, I do my 5 minutes. It's funny because now Asher's like, an alarm went off at 10, and now that she's home, she's like, come on, Mom. And like, do minutes alarm, you know what I do? I put it in the mailbox and I send a note to somebody. Can you imagine? I mean, that to me is like my new.
Oh, we lost her for a second. She'll be back. So what Loren is doing every day, so she's got these 5 minutes. Is 5 minutes doable for you over the day? She's scheduling and planning these breaks, right? So
I'm back.
Oh, keep talking. Go.
Right. So yeah, so I mean, and you know, like, and you know, for me, like, it's a bath every night that I'm home, a journal. I like, that's my sacred space. I there's a book, it's about the Delaney sisters' book of wisdom. And I don't know if you know about, Jen Steinman just did another movie about the two sisters that are like 103 and Grammy and something Guinea at the two. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's hilarious. These two sisters that they're just like full on real with each other. But the Delaney sisters' book of wisdom, they talk about that they, you know, creating your sacred space. You know, this is super important. You know, have some space in your home that is just your space. And everybody knows that when you're in that space, that is it, you know, that you're just in that place and that's mama's time. Right. And that's another thing for me, because guess what happens? Asher goes and she creates her sacred space. Z goes and he creates his sacred space. And yeah, so I forgot what we were talking about. I'm so excited. I think it's really about gratitude, grace, and grit. You know, it really is those three things about, you know, really looking and just looking around and think like, what really makes you happy? Like, I look around my house, I'm like, what makes me happy? I love seeing flowers. I love seeing, you know, live living plants. You know, I love beautiful art. I love, you know, what really makes you happy? I love the smell of this one candle that I have, right? But just go through and you know, you could do the Marie Kondo or however that you want to do it. Just go, what really makes me happy? I like that. I love that my new plant that is hanging off of that, you know, cabinet right there. I love that. It makes me happy. I see growth, right? Like, to me, like, I'm like, I love seeing orchids, you know, I love sitting in my new space and like looking outside and out on the pool. Like, really go through your house and say, what really does bring you joy? Yeah. Your joy menu is such a good thing. You know, I used to say, you know, and then also look about the thing. You got to be also, my friend Nick Ortner, if you haven't downloaded his app, please do so. It is the tapping solution. And Nick always talks about, you know, you have to acknowledge though how you're feeling. If you're feeling negative, you've got to acknowledge that negative feeling. It's a free app. It's called the Tapping Solution. If anybody hasn't done tapping, I'll try to get, you know, we can figure out how to get him. But, you know, acknowledge how you're feeling and then think of like, what do you need to do to really change that? So I think lots of times we try to push it away. I'm like, I'm all good. You know, when we play that martyr, that you know, that martyr syndrome, instead of going, you know what, I'm really not feeling like today. Like, I lost it today. I don't know if anybody saw my Facebook Live. I'm trying to get Joss and Danielle back to come here to Vegas because they're in New York City. I lost it, you know, but I like had to do it. Like, for me, I just had to let it out. So I think that, you know, really, and then I had to do something to make myself feel better. Right. So that's why I went on a walk afterwards. So I think that just, one, don't stress about being stressed out is one thing that I would say to you. The second thing is focus on your values. The third is like, don't expect stability right now during tough times. Don't expect it. Tony always talks about, you know, the quality of your life is not the quality of how much certainty you can handle, but it's the quality of how much uncertainty that you can handle in your life. Right? Change is inevitable. Things are going to change. Get used to it, right? You know, Quinn said something really powerful. Quinn's my middle son, those of you that don't know. And Quinn said to me, he goes, Mom, you know, the problem with your generation, all you people, is that you're not willing to change. He goes, because those of you that don't know, he has a very big Instagram following with about 3 million people that he's worked really hard building that over the past 8 years. But he said, Mom, if my Instagram account were to go, Instagram were to go away tomorrow, he goes, I'd be fine. And I go, what do you mean by that? He goes, because I can adapt. I've already moved on. I've already built this account and that account to another 3 million people and adapt. He goes, but you guys aren't willing to change. He goes, you're not willing to change. You get so stuck in the way that you do certain things. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to say. And really really go back to what's really important to you right now. What are some of the things that, like, for you at this point, you know that those things are absolute musts in your life. And that we always say, what are the relationships that you take care of? You know what they are? The relationships you want to keep, right? What are the relationships you take care of? The relationships you want to keep. And too many times we take that for granted. You know, like I'm calling up, my mom and I have our FaceTime for 45 minutes every freaking day now since this whole thing has started. And it used to be me talking to my mom for like 5 minutes and I gotta go. Now it's like, you know, and I don't want to be in a relationship with somebody out of fear of losing them, you know, but it's scary. My mom's high risk. My mom's in a city that, you know, same thing, Linda, you were just talking about, you know, I mean, but now I'm like really, really like almost like falling in love with my mom again. Does that make sense? Like I'm starting to just start to fall in love with her. And I'm like, tell me a story, you know, tell me a story about when I was little, you know? And so that's what I would suggest to you is take care of the relationships you really want to keep. And the most important one is really that relationship with yourself. You know, you look at yourself and like be proud of like what you've achieved, you know, and who you've helped and who you've served and, you know, your kids, like you're raising your kids and all the great things. I was just reading about the one girl that's, you know, that is sick right now. And I was just like, I was looking at pictures of her and just realizing what it'd be like, how much she like cherished her husband and cherished her kids. So why am I crying? You always make me cry. But the things that I would say is really for a minute, just like stop and just like make sure you talk about why self-care and all of those things are so important. You know, it's like you have to right now cherish that relationship with yourself, fall in love with yourself again. Really do something to cherish you and fall in love with yourself again about, you know, just like who you are and all the things. And then everything else is easy, you know.
Loren, what does that mean? How would you coach someone going about that? Let's just say that someone is in front of you and maybe they have never stopped to think about loving themselves. And I know there's plenty out there because this is a never-ending journey for me. I'm better at it, but let's just say even 5 years ago, what would you say? Where do you start? Like, I love that. I had all these ideas pop into my mind because I've been better at doing this and scheduling this. And, you know, I have pink in my diary now. I have ways to do that. What if someone's literally on this, and I feel everyone's guided here for a reason, even if they're watching back the replay. What would you suggest? How do you fall in love with yourself again? How do you think that women especially, and I totally agree, men are different. If James doesn't go get to run and do something, he connects with himself physically. He feels completely useless if he's not physical. But when he just goes and does that, he comes back different. And I do feel like we're more complex. You know, we're all over it every hour, every day. What can we do to fall in love with ourselves again? My heart just went, that's the title of this. This is going to be a beautiful recording. And let's title it that because that's magnificent.
Oh, thank you. I think, you know, they're corny, silly little things I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to do some things that you're just going to go like, what? You're really going to ask me to do that? I would have you go back, and the very first thing I would have someone do is go back and look at pictures of themselves over the years, you know, and journal about like some of those times. So like I have this picture and I wasn't like the best little ballerina, you know, but I sure like had fun, man. And I have this one picture of me like hugging my brother and this one girl like who was a total bitch. I'm sorry, always a bitch. And she she is like looking over, literally a little 6-year-old is looking over at my brother and I like, what are you doing? You know, like kind of like with this look on my face, on her face. I gotta send you the picture unless she like it's on my Facebook friends, I wouldn't be good. But I remember I just looked at that picture. I'm like, God, I'm so grateful. Like my brother and I, even though like we went through some tough, I literally journaled about that picture. Then I went and I found this picture. I'll show you all a picture. So now you all get to see that I'm not, like I'm gonna say, so I'm gonna have you pick out just a couple pictures from your past. Then I went through one like from my freshman year of college and I was like, damn, man, unbelievable. I freaking made it through that year with my best friend dying, with another girlfriend, you know, and that everybody told me I wasn't gonna graduate from college. They thought I was gonna, you know, so I literally grabbed a bunch of pictures and like I started to acknowledge like that I like not, you know, I did just survive through some of those times, but I thrived through those times and they really made me who I was. I'm recharging my phone with regards to it. So pick a couple pictures and think about like maybe either a lesson that you learned or who you've become because of that, or what's, you know, what's different in your life because of those things that have happened. I'm pulling the picture up because it's important for everybody. And I mean this with all respect. So I don't want to offend anybody by something that my mother said to me. So please understand, this was my mother, and I don't mean to offend anyone. If I do, I apologize, but this is just from the words of my mom that really got me to wake up and understand the importance of self-care and self-understanding. So this is a picture of me. Does anybody see this? Anybody see that? So now you know I'm not a natural blonde. And I went and I told my mom that I was going to enter this beauty pageant. And I was with my friend, and my mom goes, she goes, okay. And I go, what do you mean, Mom? And I go, you're not proud of me that I'm going to enter this beauty pageant? And my mom said, well, I guess I didn't do such a good job raising you. And I'm like, what? Of course you did a great job, you know, raising me. She goes, if you need someone else to tell you that you're beautiful, I haven't done my job as a mom. And I think I shared that at one of the events that I did. And I'm like, holy doggies. So that's why, to me, from that moment, I was 17 years old. And I was like, oh, I've got to fall in love with me. I've got to like cherish me. I've got to understand, like, you know, that it starts within, right? And so like I said, my first little thing that I would say to you is go back, pick 4 or 5 pictures and look at and like think about like, wow, holy shit, I can't believe that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God. And you'll start to see, it's such an easy thing to start to fall in love with yourself again. It really is. And I'm not trying to like not negate it. I think that we just like, sometimes we're so attached to the story, you know what I mean, that we're not willing to like either like throw that book out or write a new story or start a new chapter or do whatever that it is, or like, you know, or like instead of making it, turn it from a freaking drama into a comedy, or turn it into a freaking, you know, like inspirational book or a love story. Exactly. Turn it into a love story. Do something so that you're just like so inspiring that and not inspiring just to other people, that you inspire yourself, that you wake up every day. You know, we talk about those, the you know, we always teach it levels of leadership. The first level of leadership, if you have to inspire yourself first, if you don't know what makes you tick, how are you ever going to find out, you know, what helps others tick as well? So anyway, so that's my one little thing to fall in love with yourself again. You know, and even, I don't know if you guys saw it, like I love to sing, even though like you know, I can't, I'm working on it. My husband, he was like, he started playing the guitar again. And so we did this little duet, and I like sang this little song that I made up when I was like 12 years old and played the guitar. And he goes, oh, Loren, you have like kind of like this kind of, I'm like, oh, I don't love my voice. And he goes, oh no, listen to this music. And he played this like really sexy, sultrous woman. I'm like, really? Like I sound like that? He goes, well, you could. And it was like, but he was honest with me. He was like at least I saw, or last night, you know, in the kitchen, I'm like, oh, maybe I do like to be in the kitchen, you know, like, I mean, just, and then I realized like I did other things to bring it, to make it more fun for me. You know, I think that once again, we brought in music. I brought, my husband was there. The puppy was there. Asher came in. So those are whatever else, to fall in love with yourself, to really do the things to fall in love with yourself, be patient, be kind to yourself. I think is the other thing. I think right now that it can be really easy to look and go, oh my God, I didn't got my hair done, my nails done, my lashes done, my this, my that. I haven't worked out like the way that I want to do it. You know, be kind to yourself. And the other thing is just know how blessed we are. You know what I mean? That we've got a community of peace, of a community of people that, you know, you could call anybody around the world. I think was so beautiful. And then just to check in on people, what a freaking gift. You know, I'll tell you something just to end, because I know it's time to end. My husband, his grandmother and my husband's father were Holocaust survivors. And I say this because I want everybody to understand, like, this is our chance to really be hope. And what happened was they were living in Palestine because there was no Israel at the time. And so they were living in Palestine, and she was living there with her son and the other child that they had. And they went to go, she missed her family. So she went to Latvia to go visit them. And right when she went to Latvia to go visit them, the war broke out. And she was on a train, literally going to a camp with my husband's father, who was 4 years old at the time. And and the train was bombed, and everybody died, and she was in the woods, and she couldn't find her son, and everybody's like, just leave. He's not around. He's died. And she didn't give up hope. And she went back 4 days later to the train and found her son hiding underneath some pretty, you know, gruesome things. But they walked for a year. And they walked to freedom. The reason that they got to freedom was because they went to Russia, where his father was a pilot on a base, and they were able to get on the base because she was the wife. But the reason why I say that to you is that it's important for us emotionally to really take care of ourselves and our emotional state and how we see this time. Because like I said, like, you can't let, you know, your personal identity be compromised because of compromising times. That's one thing I really, 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 really want you guys to get right now, is you cannot do that. If there's any book that I would recommend for you, is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. And Man's Search for Meaning is, you know, that we need to be this way, so to tell the story. Like, he went through things that were hard. We're all, you know, you need that heart. You need that. Remember what I said at the very beginning about the Kabbalah? You need there to be darkness. You need that darkness. You need to thank that darkness so that you can be the light. So if all there is anger, frustration, and this and that, that's dark, 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 according to dark, 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 then there's nobody there to bring the light. And I would just say that right now is our time to remember really just who we are and what we stand for in the world, right? And that to be that light for all of those people, and just hold the space, just really, really hold the space for people. And Linda, I adore you so much. I mean, you know, I've got a couple people in my lifeboat, and you were definitely one of them. And I cherish you. I mean, it doesn't feel like there's thousands and thousands of miles between us, because you're like truly right here with me. Like, I wake up, it's like you're my little angel, like, let's get up, Loren, come on, let's go. And so, you know, you're just, I look at a picture of you and me and our dear friend Amanda, and that's another picture of me that I journaled about, and just about like just who you are and what you stand for in the world. And Is that Gracie? My little Gracie, who I wanted to come spend the summer with me. We'll have to do that a different time this summer. So, but yeah, so I just thank you for just who you are and what you stand for in the world. And I thank you guys for taking an hour out of your day to listen to me be all emotional. And hopefully that you'll go out there and just like go through and do some of these things.
This was beautiful. And for those of you that maybe are tuning in for the first time, Loren is such an example of someone who is very kick-ass and super strong and can be an ocean of emotion, because that's the human experience. The tears are a sign of life, is what Loren taught me so early on. That vulnerability is our greatest strength. And what you give is always at the highest level. We started off there and we're going to finish there, because falling in love with yourself, I'm going to go and do that. We're going to do pictures today, old photos. I'm so proud of all the old travel photos. My kids, they love seeing photos of when James and I were little and to reflect.
And, I want to acknowledge Gracie for a second, if you don't mind, because, I love, like, when you guys took the trip and you guys were together for, what was it, 6 weeks over in Europe?
6 weeks.
6 weeks over in Europe. And like, right, Gracie, there were some times that it was like, ugh. Like, I saw some of those pictures and Gracie's like, I don't want to be in this picture, right? But then, I bet if Gracie took one of those pictures now, she'd be like, oh my God, like, I'm so grateful for that time. And like what happened because of your family, because of going away for 6 weeks, and the relationship with your brother and your sister and all of those great things that come, that'll be at one of those, that for Gracie, I'm for sure, that would be a defining moment picture for her that shaped who she is and who she's becoming as a beautiful woman. And so, yeah, and you better be careful, because next time I come to Australia, I'm going to bring a big duffel bag and you're going to be like, where's Gracie? And I'm like, I don't know where she is. And that duffel bag will be moving like this and everybody will be like, yeah, we know where she is. So anyway, all right, you guys. So many
years ago, I said yes to you. I had no clue what I was saying yes to. I just wanted to be on your radar. I wanted to be on Channel Loren. And what a journey we've had. It's been so blessed, so guided. How many people we get to show the way for is one of my life's greatest blessings. So, oh my
gosh,
so many beautiful faces are on here. Thank you for joining us. And go continue being the light for so many of us. We love and adore you. I'm just going to go to gallery view so you can see everyone giving you a lot of love and thanks today, Loren. Mwah.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Give her a big happy birthday. 3 years old.
Yes.
Happy birthday to Sean too, for Carrie. All right. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.